Igbo governor of Lagos State, from no man's land to Nigeria land. The Igbo are the most populous ethnic group in Lagos State. Listen again. The Igbo are the most populous ethnic group in Lagos State. Lagos State has a population of at least 15 million and at least half are Igbo. The other major ethnic group in Lagos State are the Yoruba. The first people to colonize Lagos are the Bini, who used it as war camp and gave it the name Eko. Then came the Awori and eventually the IGBOS. Till date, the kingship of Lagos is a Benin affair. The Portuguese and the people of Benin sold slaves from the ports of Lagos and Badagry. The Portuguese renamed the entire place Lagos because of its similarity with towns of a similar topography in their country. Lagos was made a crown colony by the British under the direct administration of the colonial masters. It was merged with Northern and Southern Protectorate to make Nigeria by Lord Lugard in 1914. Lagos became the capital of Nigeria from 1st January 1914. In the conferences for the independence of Nigeria, it was agreed that Lagos is neither a part of Western Nigeria or Yoruba land. Lagos was designated a federal territory. Lagos was administered directly from center because of its special status. The first minister of Lagos Affairs was Alhaji Ribadu, who was father of Nuhu Ribadu of EFCC, and after him was Alhaji Musa Yaradua, who was father of President Umar Musa Yaradua and General Shehu Musa Yaradua. The federal government invested time and money in the building of Lagos since colonial times. Army and police barracks, industries, ports, railways and network of roads among others. Surulere was mapped out and developed. With the above, an influx of Yorubas from the interior started. Igbos came in from the east, and Hausa migration increased from its trickles since the jihad that battered in Ilorin in 1804. Igbo migration doubled and tripled after the end of the Civil War and the abandonment of the Reconstruction program. Crude oil from Igbo land was used to develop everywhere except Igbo land. A huge chunk went to building Lagos. National structures like Ipob Bridge, National Stadium, National Arts Theatre came from receipts of crude oil. Ex-Governor Adeyinka Adebayo also tells us in a letter to Tinubu that 60% of Lagos' internal generated revenue is from its Igbo population. Igbos also dominate its industries and commerce. The 2015 election, which was directly between the Yoruba-supported APC and the Igbo-supported PDP, showed that despite the overzealous support of Jega, Igbos were at least 50% of Lagos. People noted that many Igbos and quasi-Igbos won elections in Lagos because of Igbo-PDP reserve. INEC disenfranchised many Igbos and stubbornly ensured that most did not get PVCs, while their Yoruba counterparts were gifted with multiples, yet the result was very close. It is noted that since 1967, except for once or two, most Lagos state governors have been foreigners. Tinubu is from Osun, Ambode Ondo, Fashola is Ogun, to name a few. Perhaps the next elected Lagos governor should come from Anambra or Delta. In the near future, any party that picks an Igbo as governorship aspirant is bound to win the election of Lagos State. I hereby advise the PDP and APC to start shopping for governorship candidates among Igbos. And the next topic, Igbo crude oil and Yoruba accommodation. Igbo crude oil and Yoruba accommodation. You know, the Yorubas used to tell Igbos that they accommodate us in Lagos. But Yoruba accommodation is not for free. It is because of the love of Igbo money and resources. Igbos are also very accommodating because Igbos accommodate the aspirations, ambitions, aims, feeding, education of Yorubas from the deep recesses of Igbo pockets when Igbo buy land, rent shops, open industries, rent homes, pay tax, etc. The accommodation between Igbos and Yorubas is a symbolic association. Many people seem to forget that a lot of the infrastructure built and enjoyed in Lagos today are from the federal ports. People forget that this country had survived on crude oil since 1967, and a huge part of it comes from Igbo land, which are majority in both South-South and Southeast Nigeria. It takes serious accommodation to let others share from your resources when the others are not that generous themselves. Igbos pay premium prices for everything they use in Yoruba land and would even be more accommodating if the preferential federal government can use only 10% of Igbo crude receipts to develop Igbo land, or put succinctly, if half the resource allocated to developing Yoruba land from Igbo wealth to be used to develop Igbo land. Igbos love Yorubas and shall continue to be happily generous and accommodating towards them, but it is important that we all know the true giver in this report. Let the truth be told, the Yoruba and Fulani have gained more from Igbo land than the converse. The relationship is economically exploitative, and that is why Igbo youths and families are scattered outside their homestead trying to make a living. This setup is the model of Obafemi Awolowo, who veered away from his avowed treasonous and secessionist nature in order to have access to Igbo crude oil resources in the South-South and Southeast. With resource control, most Igbos would sell their assets to their grumbling and envious hosts and return home to their land of flowing milk and honey. Well, this write-up was by Victor Wilberforce. He's a critical thinker and social engineer. Eriko Agumado added some notes on the issue of Igbo governor of Lagos. He said, Lagos was a federal capital and hosted federal institutions, so there is nothing like accommodation. New York hosts all people of the world because UN is located there. So there is no accommodation thing. Likewise, London hosts all the people of the world and Commonwealth nations because of international trade and being member countries. So when you talk about accommodation, you are very wrong. Hillary Clinton came from Arkansas to be the senator in New York. Yorubas must shelve their tribalism for Nigeria to function properly. To round up, we will share certain people's view on this matter. Tricia Sonny said, even the Chinese who sell extensions in black neighborhoods in America don't act like they own the area. Igbo need to gain native wisdom about certain things. Never you try to co-opt another man's birthplace just because you do business there. Lagos is fundamentally Yoruba land and most appealing as such. Native Code said, let's build our own Lagos in the east or even between Onitsha and Asaba. Lagos is too ancient to be my model city. Igbo should think home. This one by Amanna Springs, Nwaguru. In a true federal society, this thing matter. Voting populace, credibility of candidates. ability of the candidate to convince the voting populace of his credibility, track record of performance in previous duties, either private or public sector matters, and capacity to deliver measured on most recent portfolios, performance, and health conditions. It should never be measured on tribalism, a choice of the few elite, never from a preferred candidate or from a single notorious candidate, an incumbent political head nor interest group. Igbos should teach this policy by vying for the Lagos state governorship. Now, this one by the author of the article, Wilberforce, he said, a Yoruba man was a local government chairman in Zaria, Kaduna State. A Fulani by name Alhaji Umaru Altine was mayor of Enugu. All you tribalists should take another drink. And Akimbade Olamilekan Moshood said, only pity the lazy brains you are keeping on perpetual state of illusion. Now this one by John J. Aloziewa. He said, much of the sentiments issuing from many on this thread are characteristically African, therefore very backwards, very unintelligent and ignorant, total emotive effusions. Lagos is marching on and is a mega city, and its evolutionary path it will lead shed much of its ethnicity, and except education and progress remains stagnant, would have price as its most determinant currency, and whether you are Yoruba, Hausa, Bini or Igbo, except you have the buying power,